So, former game developers are finally starting to come out and report their life experience post being laid off from the studio that they worked at. Yeah, a lot of people are getting laid off. It's a story that's been going around all 2024. And we're going to go through an IGN article that interviews some former employees of some studios, such as Bungie and a few others. But it's a very long article. I might not read through all of it, but lucky for you, you just have to listen and you don't have to read it. But it is the typical stuff of, obviously, we have unemployment for so and so amount of time. It sucks. I feel like I'm worthless now because they laid me off even though I was trying my best. And now I don't have health insurance, so I cannot get my medication. But there is one interview that sticks out where the guy said, "I am handicapped and I can only work 4 days a week. That is my handicap because of mental stress or a mental disorder or something." He's like, I can only work 4 days a week, not 5. But now there's a lot of competition because everyone got laid off. So the few job positions there are, the people who can work 5 days a week, I have to now work 5 days a week. So I can't work 4 days a week anymore. So I thought that interview was very silly. But yeah, I've noticed with a lot of these interviews, the trend is they all have mental illness and they all need their medication and they don't have insurance now. That was the trend I've noticed. But yeah, that one with the working 4 days a week was very interesting to me. So we're going to get into it now. All right. Yeah, I stopped believing in myself. Game developers share the human impact of over a year of mass layoffs. So, earlier this week, 900 individuals were laid off from Sony PlayStation. We already went over that in a few other videos. And right now, it's just going over the layoffs, like PlayStation, EA. This was a photo from the PlayStation head visiting London studios right before he destroyed them, right before he shut them down, right before he said, "Thanks for the party, you're fired." And then he retired. So you've probably seen news about this. I'm sure I've covered it already. All right, so it seems every week in 2024 so far, there's been the same story, different developer. Thousands of game industry employees have lost their jobs in this year alone. In an effort to get to grips with these events, I've reached out to impacted developers to try and answer heavy, complex questions of why this was happening in the first place. So, just so you know right now, because he says he's trying to find out why this is happening, in none of the interviews do they say why it happened. Nobody says why it happened. They just are telling the interviewer from IGN their experience of how they moved there, they moved across the country, they bought a house, they need medication, and then them and their friends got fired. One person even says that after they got fired, or laid off, the same company was having, they were recruiting talent. So then they went back, and then the recruiter who was recruiting them then got fired a week later. So, or got let go, as I should say, a week later. So nobody is safe in the gaming industry. Even the recruiters are getting laid off. So now who's hiring people? Nobody. All right. So just so you know, they don't even find out why. If you want to stick around for the video to hear some sad stories, but we do not find out why. All right. They told me stories of how it impacted their physical and mental health and how the loss of income, insurance, and insecurity was hurting their families and their plans for the future. Some had moved across the country or even across the world for their jobs. A few reported being laid off simultaneously with a partner who was also in the industry. Some told me they had been laid off twice in 1 year. Not very secure. Both times I felt incredibly gutted. One person said the first time it felt like a reality of capitalism that I was expecting. Blame it on capitalism. But they're right, though. These businesses, they do whatever the hell they want because capitalism, stockholders, shareholders, whatever, laid off, get better shareholder numbers, rehire. It's all capitalism. It's all crap. This is, capitalism. But the second they got laid off a second time, being so close to the first, it was like, we really are just cogs in the machine. Listen, guys, if you don't own your own company, or I don't know, maybe you're a YouTuber, even that, you're just cogs in a machine. That's why the whole movement of you live in the matrix is so big right now. So layoffs happen for all kinds of reasons, be it because of a bad financial bet, a failed game, a deal falling through, poor planning, or any number of things. But when they do, it is human beings whose lives are appended in response. And that's a good list of reasons: bad financial bet, failed game, a deal falling through, or poor planning. All of these have happened. All these layoffs are because of these things. These things right here. Like, that is why. So I guess I lied. This is the reason, just not from the people being interviewed, but the journalist here. No money, more problems. I lost my job and my health insurance, said one former employee of Drifter Entertainment I spoke to. We got 1 month of severance, but I've been collecting unemployment and doing some consulting work to help supplement. It's been really stressful, and my wife has had to get a job to support us while I'm looking for work. Oh, I guess she didn't have to work before. One income households, very rare. I am terrified that I will not have something lined up by the time of unemployment runs out, and have considered leaving the industry altogether. We've had to aggressively cut costs, live paycheck to paycheck, and I'm choosing to forego some of my medications because they're too expensive to refill. It sucks. Yes, the joys of living in America. Many former developers find themselves in similar circumstances after being laid off. Unemployment benefits can be difficult to obtain, and some workers find themselves far from home after uprooting their lives to take a job that no longer exists. Yeah, a lot of employees are moving for jobs. It's common. This is Bungie. This is the Bungie studio, newly re-renovated. I, like many of my coworkers, was incentivized by the Bungie leadership to move to be local at the office, so I was alone when I first started working, said a former Bungie employee. This was my first professional career position, and I invested everything in this company. I started working right out of college and relied on health insurance provided to have medical checkups. As of now, I am solely relying on unemployment benefits to keep myself afloat. I was someone who went to the office daily to meet people and seek the opinions of developers with more experience and skill than I. It was a dream come true. Those people were laid off as well. It is not an understatement to say that I bet everything on Bungie and the house always wins. As I was picking up the pieces of my life last year, my outlook didn't change, and my hope was that this hiccup could lead to something greater. I still hope for the best for Bungie, and I know the creatives employed there will succeed, but I hope this kind of layoff never happens again. Others I spoke to purchased homes or moved into new rentals thanks to improved salaries. When they were laid off, that security suddenly vanished. It is crap that they increase your salary and then fire you. Just don't even increase the salary then. And it seems like these people aren't getting enough notice too. It seems like they just fired them right away or laid them off right away. I just moved into a new apartment a week or two prior and signed a new lease, said a former employee of a support company that partnered closely to Microsoft. I, of course, now have zero income except that I'm getting from the moment from unemployment. My pay had been bad enough. I had no savings, lost my health insurance, and boy, has that been a mess. Yeah, it seems like everyone really needs this health insurance. Like, I mean, obviously you need health insurance, but it's like all these people they're interviewing are dependent on medication. And I know they bring up Microsoft here, but they work for a company, and it was probably an entry-level position who partnered with Microsoft. So them getting a low pay has nothing to do with Microsoft. Just saying. And yeah, it sucks though when you sign a lease to a new apartment and then it's like, hey, I know I moved in a month ago, but I have to move out. Now, when you have a lease, you have to buy out of that lease. I had to do that. So they told me that while they were fortunate enough to have support programs and networks to assist them, not everyone has been so lucky. They asked me to imagine a person who does their job well, but who manages serious mental illness through doctors and medications that is paid by their company health insurance. You see what I mean? This whole article is about how all these people are suffering mentally and now they don't have medication. Then, for absolutely no fault of his own, he is laid off and living in a place without Medicaid available. There's no way he can afford continuing coverage under COBRA. For those of you who don't know what COBRA is, if you had a job, and then for whatever reason, and I could be wrong, but from my experience, when you leave that job, because I left that job, or get laid off or whatever, you can continue your health insurance under COBRA. And I think you can just have COBRA in general. I think the coverage is good, but it's just like $500 a month or something. It's ridiculous. So just boom, done. No more doctors or medication refills until he can get coverage. Maybe though healthcare.gov, but that takes time. Or maybe through healthcare.gov. And that does take time. I wouldn't know. I would not know. My sisters would know. And the meds he's on very clearly do not recommend going off cold turkey. Suddenly losing your job is not just a massive hit to your pride and a threat to your ability to keep a roof over your head. It could very possibly lead to a very serious mental health crisis, or God forbid, worse. That is why it's great to live in a country that has like social health care. The last two countries I've lived in, even the country I currently live in, has social health care where you just pay a flat rate every month out of your paycheck and you have health care. I mean, it doesn't have to do with your paycheck. It can just come out. The country I live in now comes out of your paycheck, and like the US. But the country I lived in before in Europe was social health care, where you just pay separately from your paycheck. It has nothing to do with your job, and you have health care. But the last two countries I've lived in, the health care wasn't as good as the US though, so it has its pros and its cons, I guess. So losing a job can take a major toll on a person's health. It's especially hard on disabled workers who are capable of working on games but have special health needs. So I think this is the one I was talking about, with the 4 days a week. One disabled developer I talked to spoke of the hardships faced of being laid off as they struggle to find a new job. It was super depressing, and what made it worse is that it was really hard to find a new job, said one disabled freelance developer who has struggled to find work since their last contract ended. I had the added problems that I can only do a 4-day week due to mental health reasons. This hadn't been an issue in the past, but with the sudden increase of desperate applicants and only a few open positions, it became abundantly clear that I couldn't afford my handicap. It feels like you are forced to underbid other applicants. You're not underbidding, you're just now throwing out your bullshit. Oh, well, I'm mentally stressed, I can only work 4 days a week. Now I have to work 5. You're not underbidding. You're just working like everyone else 5 days a week. Even for individuals without explicit health problems, layoffs take a hefty mental toll. One former CD Projekt Red developer told me that while they were relatively secure financially, their self-worth took a serious hit from being laid off. I stopped believing in myself as an artist, they said. I started to question my career choices and if I even wanted to continue on this path. It was really hard for me to start creating anything again. I felt pretty burned out. So that's another thing they're feeling. They're feeling like they're worthless and that this isn't worth anything. I'll read one more experience here. They weren't alone. A former ZeniMax employee described similar feelings after being laid off from what they described as a dream job. It was my first AAA studio position. The team was amazing. I loved the benefits and I worked hard. I wondered if there was anything different I could have done. I was emotionally and mentally crushed. I just couldn't believe it. In one Wednesday, I had lost the entire reason I moved to Maryland and started a new life in a new state. Another person who was laid off from Xbox last year told me that even though they had found a new job since then, the lingering impact of the layoffs were still sitting with them. They had been working in a role that was normally considered to be a stable one, like they liked their job and wanted to stay where they were at long term, and were working on a popular and lucrative IP. Yet all that vanished in an instant. They said that as a result, they felt they would never be able to have a stable career. Now, a year later, I feel an incredible amount of anxiety, even though my team just released a 90+ Metacritic score game. I don't feel safe. Our CEO even said in an all hands that he wasn't expecting any layoffs this year. But how am I supposed to believe that? There's nothing in place to hold him to that. So the thing is, it's not just with the gaming industry. It's just with the gaming industry right now. It's happening a lot. But with any job you have, unless you're the head boss, the CEO, any job you have, you can be let go. Like, it's with any job. Also, it's not secure. Any job, not secure. Even if you have your own company, then there's always bankruptcy. There's always sales stopping. There's any job, any way, nothing. No matter how you make money on this planet, it's not permanent. Whether you're the boss or just an employee. So, and it goes on. People felt survivor's guilt. I won't read that. It's about people feeling guilt that they weren't laid off, but their coworkers were, and that they just end up quitting anyway because they feel bad that the other people got laid off. So then they're like, screw this, I'm gonna quit too. This is crap that everyone's getting laid off. So yes, very interesting from some people. It does seem like, and I only read a few, it seems like everyone interviewed by IGN here had severe mental health problems, and it just talked about basically they're losing health insurance and they can't get their meds. That's a US thing. That's an America thing. That's a country thing. That's not a game industry thing. Every company in the world, every company in America at least that I know of, you get health insurance through the company. Well, even not all companies. You get health insurance for every human being in America. You get health insurance through where you work. So blaming the gaming studios who laid off these people, blaming the publishers who laid off these people, that now they can't get their medication for their depression or whatever it is, that's an America thing. That's not these companies' problem. That's an America thing. America needs to fix their healthcare then. That you have to have a job to get healthcare. So, yeah, this is just some of the reports that have come out. And, oh, whoa, it's been 17 minutes. Yeah, so comment down below what you guys think. Right now, yeah, the game industry seems very unstable right now. It's a lot of people laid off, so now there's more competition for very few jobs. It does not sound like a field you want to work in. So that sucks for anyone in university right now, coming out of university, who majored in like programming, game development. It sucks. But I think, again, it's like with the movie industry, they're seeing now that they cannot just pump out crap and then pump out monetized crap, and then there's an infinite amount of human beings on this planet who will play it. There's not. Right now I live in Asia. Asia is very populated, and most people here just play on their phones, and they play like 1 or 2 games, Roblox or Mobile Legends, and that's all of Asia. No one in Asia is playing freaking Spider-Man 2. No one in Asia, at least where I live, is playing Halo. No one. Yeah, it's just, that's a Western thing. So yeah, comment down below what you think. Comment too if you're like, oh, screw you, wolf guy, for kind of like making fun of that guy who wants to only work 4 days a week and not taking mental illness serious. I'm not saying I don't take mental illness serious, but a lot of people milk that shit. A lot of people milk it, and they're fine. They're fine. All right, so I will see you guys in the next video.